diminished pain in your neck and lower back, ankles swelling down to where you're seeing loose skin even on your ankles. Inflammation has decreased. Your shirts are fitting looser. Rosacea and the cysts on your face are gone. You were able to work out for 70 minutes and even 2 hours, bending over to clean your underneath your cabinet. Varicose veins lightening. Your knees feel better. They don't feel like wooden hockey pucks. And that was in only 8 days. Today, we're going to be talking with Sandra, and she's going to be sharing with us her experience being on the X39. If you've never heard of the X39 patch through LifeWave, I'm going to be sharing that with you today. And then Sandra's going to share her experience and just what's been going on in her body, which there's so many amazing things. Like, I'm super thrilled when she was sharing with me just the other day. I was like, what? Shut the front door. There's so many amazing things that God has done in her body just in the first 8 days of her being on the patch. So I can't wait for you guys to hear from her. But Sandra, thank you for being here with us and sharing your experience about X39 and what it's done.
Sure. Can't wait.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So for those of you who are just now hearing about this, I have found this amazing technology. It is a stem cell activation patch. And I'm going to share a little bit of information with you just quickly so that you can kind of know what it is, what it does, and then Sandra can share with us what it's been doing in her body. I'm not going to go into a ton of information here, but I'm going to link a video for you in the description where you can go and find out more about this technology. As we age, our stem cells decline and their ability to function and heal our body. So we need stem cells. It's God's design for our body to be able to heal itself naturally. And so the X39 stem cell activation patches are clinically proven to give your body the health and vitality that it actually needs. And so it's patented, it's a proven technology, it's non-transdermal, and it's totally safe. It's non-invasive. It doesn't interact with medications or anything like that. So it's been, researched for a long time, 20 years of research, 80 clinical studies. It's a wearable light technology. It's phototherapy, and it's applied to your body. This is what the patch looks like right here. I just pulled it off of the back of my neck right here. And you can wear it on the back of your neck, under your belly button, really anywhere on your body. It reflects just these specific wavelengths of light back towards your body, which signals your body to elevate a copper peptide called the GHKCU. And this copper peptide's been clinically proven to activate your body's own stem cells. So you're not having to have anything injected into your body. These are the health benefits of, using the X39. So some of the health benefits, and there's been so many more reported. You're about to hear some of the things today, and everybody's body is different. So everybody's body responds a little bit differently, but just a few of the things are reduced pain and discomfort in your body, reduced inflammation, better sleep, improved energy and vitality. It helps improve your skin appearance because collagen in our body starts to increase when you are wearing the X39. It also supports natural wound healing process. So when you get cut when you're a kid, your body heals so much faster than when you get cut when you're an adult. So this helps to support your natural wound healing process, speeds that up actually, and it restores mental clarity. This is a really good patch for people who need a little bit of help in their mental health as well. Even if you suffer from depression, anything like that. It's a really great thing to wear. So like I said, everybody's body is different, but most people experience some kind of something within the first 24 hours. Others need a little bit longer. But my first 24 hours of experience on the X39 patch personally, I had just this sense of calm come over me when I first put it on. I didn't notice a whole lot of anything else. I was in a ton of pain. My back was out is what I call it. My back was out. And I share about that in the video that I'm going to attach in the description for y'all. But so I won't go into a lot of that right now because this is about what Sandra has going on in her body. But I did feel within 24 hours just a calmness. And within 3 days, I was able to get up and move pain-free, which was huge because my lower back I have a herniated disc in my L5-S1, and it had touched a nerve root, I guess, and it went out and I couldn't move very well at all, actually, like to go to the bathroom, put my pants on. It was just crazy. Like I needed help with everything. And so 3 days later, I was up and just doing all the things normal, which is huge for me because normally the healing process for me when that happens takes about 3 weeks of hobbling around like an old lady. And then I'm okay. But I'm like, don't touch me, don't hit me. I have to hold the walls and all the things. But 3 days I did not. So I knew right away the X39, there was something to it, started researching it, fell in love with it, the technology, technology, researched all the things. So I really have loved so far what it has done in my body. My husband has an amazing testimony, which I'll share maybe here in a little bit. But I want to hear from you, Sandra, because Sandra, you and I just basically met about a month ago. You found me on YouTube, right?
Yes, I had been in prayer seeking something to improve my health because I've had many health problems. Last year, I had a brain surgery. And even though the brain surgery was a success, the recovery for that is a process. And I was finding, different things going on in my body. But besides the brain surgery, there are other health situations going on with my body, some of them being cysts in different organs, which were found before they did the brain surgery. They did MRIs and found all this other stuff. So the brain surgery says, no, I got first dibs on you. And it's like, okay, it's like the 57 Chevy getting the tune up from the top down.
Yeah.
So I went along with that. And, but yeah, I was praying because basically my knees had been having a lot of trouble for the last couple of years. And I tried everything the medical profession offers, like injections and medications and nerve ablation, like kind of like blocking out nerves, like to improve the knees. And none of it worked to where I was seeking out stem cells that they have in other countries that, to see if that would improve the condition of my knees without having yet another surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And, but it found that it was so expensive. So I was like telling my husband's having trouble with his shoulder. So we're like, oh, we could save up for Social Security checks to eventually go to Mexico and, get these stem cells done to improve the quality of our life. And then I listened to a minister who mentioned on YouTube, his wife was having PTSD to the point to where she just wasn't functioning at all. And somebody sent her husband the patches because he has years of back troubles. And so instead of putting it on himself, he put it on his wife. And little by little, the PTSD started lifting because she was already on ketamines and all kinds of infusions of drugs, strong drugs that would only last a few days and then would wear off. So she just started and she shares, she put them on in unbelief. She's a believer, but she did not believe any of what he was saying, or they were telling him.
I've met people like that.
She couldn't care less, and she just wanted to get him out of her hair. So I was like, all right, do whatever you want, but this is ridiculous. So she started getting better, and she traveled. I think they live in Tennessee. She traveled to Florida, and since he was the one putting the patches on her, she didn't bother until she was there a week, and it started lifting off again because she didn't have the patches on for a week. So then she was trying to figure out what changed, what's different. And then she remembered, and she asked her husband to overnight the patches to her.
Wow.
So I heard all that, but I didn't make a move on it or anything. And then somehow, Kathryn, you popped up on the YouTube videos, and God does that all the time because I'm not a techie and I don't know who to look for what. I mean, I don't know anything technological. So you popped up doing an interview with, I think it was Sarah.
Yeah.
And I listened and I'm like, oh, here it is again. And then I started praying and I'm like, let me try and send you some communication, see if you answer. And you did. And it was like, oh my goodness, this young lady is like, I've known her forever and I could just share with her. And I knew you were honest and truthful because I worked many years in New York as an interpreter in criminal system. And so I know who's a liar and who's not.
Good thing you didn't tell me that ahead of time. It wouldn't make me nervous.
No, I mean, as a New Yorker, we're so jaded. It's like, it's a miracle we're saved,
I understand.
And it was just so good sharing with you. And like you also have had challenges in your back. I also have a cyst in one of the things in my spine, besides the cyst and, the right breast and pancreas and spleen and kidneys. And I mean, it's just ridiculous. So in sharing with you, even though you're young, you also know what it's like to have a challenge, and how you tried all this time to get better and the different things you just finished sharing, like, in trying to improve that and the difference, like, in wearing these patches. Basically, I could not really move much.
Mhm.
And from having been a young person involved in sports, gymnastics, handball, movement, travel, to not really being able to move in retirement, like when it was like we thought we'd be able to
Yeah.
do things, was just really making us grumpy. We prayed, we put them on, really didn't feel much of anything, but I'd been listening to the YouTubes of people sharing, like some people felt stuff like within minutes, a day, other people felt nothing. But after about 3 days, what I noticed was that my t-shirts, like when I put them on, they felt like they were stretched out and like they were somebody else's t-shirts I was putting on, to where I always felt tight in them. And a lot of times I wouldn't even bother wearing them. I'm like, oh, what's this? And then I noticed in my feet, like my feet were usually swollen. The tops of the skin of my feet were usually swollen. So when I looked and noticed, it was also the stretching aspect of like having been swollen for so long. Now it looked like my skin was like stretched on top
Wow.
of my feet. So the swelling was, something was happening with the swelling component. I'm like,
So
oh,
you're
okay.
noticing though that the shirts that didn't fit you well anymore were starting to fit you better after 3 days?
Right.
Wow.
So now, even like just before coming on here, I tried on so many different t-shirts and they all felt stretched out. I'm like, no, I'm not wearing this. I'm not wearing this. I'm not wearing. And finally I put this on that I didn't wear anymore because I'd gotten so big and swollen. So I'm like, oh, I'm back to this one. And it's like a couple of years old.
Wow.
And it's just like, oh, thank you, Lord, because it's frustrating as a woman to know, like, I'm trying to be mindful of eating and, the things I can do, not really dieting, but not really like eating junk, to see some kind of change in my body, weight wise, or like the way clothes fit me. But when you're continuously going through a frustration of not being able to wear something because it just feels uncomfortable on you, having to buy more clothes, like bigger, it's just like, it's annoying.
Yes, it is.
Especially if you're not really picking out, you're not eating junk food, you're trying and nothing's changing. Like when you're younger, if you cut something out, you would see the difference in your body. So that was the one thing I noticed first. The second thing I noticed was that I've had rosacea, which is like cysts, like in the T-zone of my face, which is like, it looks like acne, but it's cysts that break out and it's kind of painful, like when it happens.
Mhm.
So I noticed that my skin was healing, like
Wow.
they were drying up, but from the inside out. And so I stopped using all of my washes. I had been on antibiotics for years also with the
Wow.
dermatologist. And before the brain surgery, they took me off all of that and they recommended I not go back on it. So I've been having the breakouts over here, and usually you feel them as cysts inside and they're kind of painful. I noticed they were drying up.
Wow. How soon did you notice that in your face? That, 3 days was the inflammation was gone in your face. Was that something you noticed pretty quickly?
I'm looking at my notes so I
Yeah,
don't
because you keep a
I don't
journal. That's
forget.
what I was gonna recommend because the
Yeah.
thing that I was just showing you actually, I screen shared it with you. It is a tracker. It's a health tracker so that you can track where you started. I'll show that to you again because it's really cool. This second page is a little
Oh,
tracker.
that's
So look, yeah,
great.
you can track your sleep before, mental clarity, energy, stamina, all this stuff right here in like 24 hours up to 90 days because your cell
Oh, that's
turnover takes
great.
90 days to
Oh my goodness.
research, yeah, to cycle through. So I'll send that to you. I'll email that
Okay.
to you. But I thought, man, that's really cool. But you keep a tracker, like your
Yeah,
journal in your
I keep a little
That's
old
so
my
smart.
prayers. I just write down different scriptures about
Mhm.
light, let there be light, and the Lord is my light and my salvation. And I just kind of like bring it before, I put on the patches, it's my thing. People, not everybody does it,
Yeah.
but it's just a connection, like in terms of like being all in terms of what I'm doing, being intentional.
Mhm.
So I have here January 29 is where I first wrote skin clearing.
Mhm.
And that's been continuously happening. to where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like a teenager. Like, I got to get off, touching in unbelief. Like, my skin is healing because I might break out because I keep touching my face, but it's like I just keep thanking God that
Yes.
it's healing, it's healing. And my question when I met with you and Sarah was, do you have any information in terms of if it works with cysts? Because there's so many cysts that were found inside my organs. And then Sarah, went to PubMed and, while she was sharing about cysts, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. But the rosacea, it's not really acne, it's cysts. So it's already starting to happen from inside. And I was just really greatly encouraged because when you go to the hospital and the doctors, like they do studies, and then from there, they're watching to see if it turns into cancer, let's say, or if the organ gets worse to operate on, that kind of thing. But I really wanted to reverse what's happening inside. So I was just really encouraged by, the connection when I spoke to you two. Oh, the rosacea is really about cysts. It's not acne, even though sometimes I look at it and that's what it looks like. That was a big one for me when I talked to you two ladies. The other thing was I had prayed. One of my fears and concerns, even though, there are a lot of people praying before I had the brain surgery, was when I awakened from brain surgery, that I would be as lucid, as clear as I am now, that my cognitive functions and thinking, being able to communicate, that they wouldn't be affected because of the brain surgery, being able to move, walk, talk, that it wouldn't be a problem, infection or anything with the brain, all those things. Also, as a believer, that any of the things that God's given to me over the many years of the gifts of God's Spirit, that I wouldn't lose any of that in terms of awakening from surgery, because found out that people who wake up from brain surgery don't know who their loved ones are.
Wow. Yeah.
Have all kinds of problems with their body, with their mind, all kinds of things. So I was thankful that I woke up and I didn't even know if I had the surgery or not. I'm just yakking away. But it's all part of like the faithfulness of God and keeping my mind. So moving forward from that, I've noticed even more clarity in a gentle way. Not anything like, I'm taking something to enhance in my brain and I've got to, it's just like being clearer, following through on things, not just like thinking something and leaving it off and then going back to it. It's like being clearer and following through in terms of clarity. I noticed that.
So you're focusing better as well. Like you're not going shiny object, squirrel,
Yeah, like I'm over here, I'm over there. I'm not doing anything. No, I got to do this day one again. Like I meant to do this and I got away from it. And what happened? And
so many battle that.
That was one. And so I'm just thankful. Then I want to say it was about like 5 days later, I felt enough energy to take on cleaning the bottom of my kitchen cabinet, which I hadn't been able to get to because my knees and pains and just a restrictive thing in my body and not wanting to hurt myself. So I cleaned that out. I was like, oh my goodness. It was like I wasn't wiped out after it. And then a few days later, I tried to do some gentle exercises for seniors. So I did that for about 70 minutes. And I had not been able to do more than 5 minutes without my back or something hurting me and not wanting to hurt myself more.
Okay, so after 5 days-ish of being on the patch, because when we talked and you shared so much of this, it was only 8 days. So you were able to go from 5 minutes tops without hurting to exercising to 70 minutes. You did it.
70 minutes. I wasn't running a marathon, but I was doing a little bit of weights, a little bit of stretching, lifting, core, things that I wanted to do, but I just could not do. And I was like, oh my goodness. And my husband, like, he'd come out and like look at me and like he'd just walk away again, because it's like he doesn't want to hear me complaining, like, please, I pulled, give me a massage, all that. And so So I had gone to do errands, and I went to the supermarket, and then I did errands for my mom, and who's older. And then I came home, I seasoned a bunch of stuff, cooked. And then after all that, I started doing exercise, and I did it for like 2 hours.
Wow.
It was 2 hours. And I think I overdid it because well, not overdid it, but you know, when you're sore, when
Mhm.
you've worked
Yeah.
muscles. So I
Normal
have
sore.
some of that going on, which
Mhm.
I
The good
hadn't
thing. Yeah, the good sore.
right, right. And
Yeah.
so
Wow.
it's like, okay, let me write it down, and then like also being mindful of, now that I have energy, not overdo it to where I do, you know what I'm saying? Hurt myself
Absolutely. Yeah,
and
exactly.
wipe out.
Yeah, using Holy Spirit discernment on all of that is important. You know that. So
Yeah.
let's talk about your varicose veins and your knees. I would love to really talk about your knees because the way that you put it to me was so like just I'll never forget it. It was memorable. You said my knees don't feel like wooden hockey pucks. Can you talk about your knees?
Yes, that was like really the main concern. There wasn't much I could do. Oh, but the only thing I was doing was walking, and I had to keep it under, like before I could do 5 miles or, you know, a light jog or anything and not have problems. But once the knee problems started, they would just like seize up. And what it felt like was like wooden hockey pucks inside of where my kneecaps are. Even though I wanted to move, I couldn't move. It was frustrating, but at the same time, it was scary. And when you go to the doctors, what they're talking about is surgery. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, no, not yet another surgery. And knowing all about the knee surgeries where they might take, they might not take, it's not forever, it's not guaranteed. And I was like, no, there's got to be a better way, which is why I was looking at the stem cells. The first couple of days, what I felt was a strengthening in my knees to where I couldn't really stand for long without feeling that I just described. Now I was able to stand for longer without getting that feeling. Now I was attempting to walk a little more or to remain standing without being fearful that I'd have that again. That really gave me such a hope that my body can be restored, even though I'm 66, almost 67 years old. And so that's given me so much hope and encouragement. And to this day, like now, if I'm watching TV or watching, you know, I call it YouTube University with the
Yeah,
LifeWave.
for real.
Now, instead of sitting, I'm standing for longer. And so I'm aware that as I stand, I have the strength in my knees
That's awesome.
to stand.
That's
And
awesome.
it's a big deal for
It's
me.
a big deal. Absolutely. To not have wooden hockey pucks in your knee. It's a big deal. That's a big deal. I was telling my husband, I was like, James, you've got to hear this because this one thing, you gave me a huge list and you've talked about a lot of this already, but that was the one thing I was like, mobility is so important. And I know that when my
Yeah,
back has gone out and I'm immobile, that man, I just feel so helpless and I get mad because I'm like, I know my body was made to move. Why is
right.
it moving? And the way that I know, and I also know that God is healer and he, designed our body also to be able to do all that it needs, but that he also can heal I mean, like in the Bible, you see it all the time. Like Jesus just put mud on somebody's eyes and they weren't blind anymore and
Right.
raising the
I'm
dead.
I'm
And I
from
mean,
that tribe.
yeah,
I want to I
look at
still
that.
believe in miracles. Can't you just touch my
100%.
knees, my
Right,
brain?
exactly. So me too. And I've seen miracle healings in my body, my wrist, way before X39 ever came out. So I cleaned houses because I was a single mom and I had 3 jobs. Well, that was rough.
Wow.
And I was scrubbing people's tubs and stuff. And now when I do anything, I do it to the nth degree. I make sure it's done very well. I strive for excellence in pretty much all that I do. And I was scrubbing tubs so hard, that I was noticing, man, my wrist is hurting. And I also had an office job as an admin assistant. And so I was typing all day, scrubbing toilets and tubs at night or in the weekends or wherever I could. And then also I was selling a skincare product, a natural skincare product at the time too. I was just all over the place. Well, my wrist was hurting so bad all the time. And just like, man, for like 3 or 4 years, and I would just do this all the time. I would just notice it. And sometimes it would feel very fatigued. So I met my husband when we were dating and I was just doing this one day and he said, what's going on with your wrist? And I think I had just got done cleaning a house or something and things. So I don't know. I said, I guess I just do it without even thinking because it always kind of hurts. And he's like, Okay. And he just grabbed my wrist. He just prayed a prayer of healing. And he has the gift of faith and of seeing, laying on of hands and seeing miracles. So anyways, he just prayed a very simple prayer. He's a very simple guy. He's not extravagant with his words at all. I'm the wordy one. And he just simply said a prayer, probably 5 words, I'm sure. I have no idea because he's really awesome like that. And my wrist hasn't hurt since. And that was in 2016. Not one time.
Wow.
Not even once. I mean, other than whenever I was jackhammering the ice in my
Oh my
driveway
gosh.
a few weeks ago. I talked to y'all about that here on the channel when I was talking about habits, and God saying, there's a lesson to be learned in that. But I just know God still heals. Like he heals without any extra help, like the X39 patches. But I also know that when he gives us something that is beneficial for our body, that isn't just a pill that we are going to excrete, that isn't just,
With side effects.
right.
Yeah.
And our food and all the things that we're up against, we have help. And so I'm very thankful for what the X39 has done in my body and in yours. And then there's those others, sometimes that come too, and they're just like, oh, no, I don't feel anything. And I'm like, guess what? It's still working.
Right.
It is, it goes to work on your body and whatever area of tissue or organ or whatever that needs to be taken care of first. And that isn't always something that we feel. Maybe your liver needed a 911 and you didn't even know it. And it's going to work there first. Inflammation, first off, that's a huge deal. If we're wearing the patch, for instance, and we're continuing to cram inflammatory foods down our throats, it's like fighting to stay at baseline. So those are the types of things that I always tell people when they're like, well, I'm not really seeing the results as fast as I want or at all. I ask a couple questions too. One, are you drinking enough water? Because enough water is more than like 1 16-ounce bottle. Enough water is like, I have this today, but this, like I have a bunch of 32-ounce tumblers, 3 of these a day. So that's about 100
Right.
ounces of water, 90 to 100
Right.
ounces of water a day for me. But then maybe too much for you or whatever, but 64 8-ounce glasses of water is what we need to stay properly hydrated. So 1, are you drinking water? 2, are you eating a ton of inflammatory foods and eating out, fast food, eating crackers, chips, cookies, cakes, pies, pastries, processed sugar. Yeah. All that stuff. It causes inflammation in our body. So what happens? You put the patch on and it's going to work continuously on inflammation over and over and over again. It can't get past that because you won't let it. So I'm like, please,
That's so
please.
smart.
Give
That's so
yourself a little
smart.
bit of support. Yes. And because I work with women, I'm a transformational wellness coach, deal with mental health. I work with women in mindset shifts and all of that. But there are things that we need to do externally to see results come about in our body. It's like, well, why isn't this working? I keep running into the wall. Well, open your eyes. That's the way
No,
I think about
now
it.
that you say that, part of like the process for me has been paying more attention to my body, like
Mhm.
what to eat, what to not eat. Even as you're sharing, I know that in the very first week, I was mindful of making a smoothie of greens. Kale, it had flaxseed in it. It had mangoes and pineapple in it, and being mindful to drink that smoothie throughout that whole first week. And I ran out of it. So as you're sharing, I'm like, I got to go and buy more greens,
Yeah.
to continue what helps along with the rest of the process in the body.
Absolutely, to support it. We really need to do that. So be mindful of that. I know you are, but so many that may be watching this thinking, well, I just bought these and I've been using them for 3 weeks or whatever and haven't experienced 8 days, these amazing results that you haven't even finished, being able to share all of this. Maybe I haven't experienced these. What's wrong with me? Well, there's nothing wrong with you. I just really want to encourage you to keep going. Don't quit, at least for 90 days, and let your body do what your body needs to do, but support it by making sure
Right.
you're drinking enough water and making sure that you're trying. You don't have to go on a diet. That's not what I mean. I'm
Right.
really an anti-diet person, to be honest. But God gave us, there's biblical wisdom for how we should eat. Like he's given us lots of road maps in the Bible for our health, our wealth, like lots of other things, right? Our eternity. So why shouldn't we look at the Bible for, what we should eat for food? And so thinking about that, stick to foods that are as least inflammatory for our bodies as possible. And that's, of course, staying away from processed food. Now, I want to address this really quickly because one lady said to me when I told her that, she said, well, what do I eat then? Because she said, well, what is a processed food? And I thought, I didn't realize people don't know. So some of you
Mhm.
may not understand. most things that come, not all things that come from a bag or a box, because you can get bagged spinach. So I'm not talking about use common sense here, okay? But most things that come from a box or a bag is processed. So be very mindful to pay attention to processed food and try to eliminate as much of that as possible. And so when I shared that with her and she said, well, what do I eat? Well, here's what you eat. If you can, of course, to the best of your ability, eat as many fruits and vegetables washed. Make sure you wash all the chemicals off of those. Good sources of protein. Meat is good. It's not the enemy. Meat is good. Eat good sources of protein. And I'm not talking about like protein bars and protein shakes. Meat, salmon, chicken, turkey, that kind of stuff, and drink a lot of water, and really complex carbohydrates. And people are like, oh, anti-carbs. I'm like, yes, anti-processed carbs. Okay. So a carb that is super beneficial for your body is a sweet potato. That's a complex
Yes.
carbohydrate, just so think about that. And if you're like, what's a complex carbohydrate? As soon as you're done watching this, not right now, as soon as you're done watching this, Google or go to YouTube and say, what's a complex carbohydrate? And you'll see lots of stuff on YouTube University and Google University, right?
Absolutely. I had for years and years the reflux kind of situation to where I was taking meds, and if I was going to eat out or if I was going to have like a cultural, I'm Puerto Rican, so it would be like a fritter, something fried in oil.
Yeah.
If I didn't take medicine, I would be really sick. Like I would be up all night just repeating, and I'm sorry, it's gross, but burping and all that stuff. Since I've been on the patch, I've not been on any kind of thing like that. I'm also mindful of not eating, unhealthy.
Mhm.
I've done it once or twice and I've seen my body, like saying, you shouldn't have had that. All that to say, the improving in my digestion in such a short time, without my taking any longer the pill so that I can eat the junk, that I know from the get-go is not good for me.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I
So
love
it's
that.
a learning curve, like
I love that.
honoring your body and
Yes. And
trying
it's
to work with it, not
yeah.
against it.
Yeah, it's a temple. Now I see behind you, I see on your wall a temple.
Yeah.
We are now the temple of the Holy Spirit, according to Corinthians. Like we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. We need to honor our bodies, whatever you eat, whatever you drink, do it unto the glory of God. So we do need to honor our bodies. Do I always do the best job of it? No, because why? I'm human. I make mistakes, and life in 2024 is crazy busy, but that can't be my excuse. It has to be something that I just have to decide, not I'm going to do these things just because I know they're right and I shouldn't eat these other things. No, I'm going to do these things because it's my identity. I am a daughter of the Most High God. I can do what His word says I can do. I can be who His word says I can be. I am who He says I am. And I am the temple of the Holy Spirit. So how am I going to treat that temple? Are you going to treat your temple like you would treat your closet that you shove everything into when somebody's coming over, right? And you're just like, I'm just going to put all this garbage out of sight, out of mind. Or am I going to treat my temple with respect and take care of it, because it is actually the house, or the church is not a building. It's a person. It's us,
It's
right?
us.
We're the church. So you talked about two more things that were on this list that I really want you to talk about. Varicose veins lightening. And you also talked about diminished pain in your neck and your lower back. So could you just touch on those things for just briefly?
Yeah. So I had been in a taxi car collision back in 2002. And as a result of that, I had yet another surgery 3 years later because nothing helped the pain in my neck. So I ended up having a cervical disc replacement, and it fused. And after that, my neck was never the same again. It always felt in the back tight, and it would radiate that. So the tightness would radiate always on the left side, all the way down my shoulder, elbow to my fingers. So when I started using the patch, what I found was between the third and the fifth day that it was noticeably less of a grip on my neck, and as a result on my shoulder. It wasn't totally gone,
Mhm.
but I could tell the difference. I'm like, oh, so now I can move more. And that's, I think, helped me to take a step forward in trying out to do a little bit of exercise.
Yeah.
Because now I wasn't like a spaz, Bride of Frankenstein. No, I was like, oh, I could move a little bit. Let me try. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So step by step, I realized that, all of that loosening up is like something's happening in my body.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And your varicose veins lightened, you said, which is huge
Yep.
because a lot of us.
On my right knee behind it, I have bunch varicose veins there. And I had that vein thing, reducing your veins and eliminating your veins, and all of that came back because my circulation was not good.
Exactly.
So I was gonna do that again, but I noticed on the side that they were lighter, and I was like, oh, and I wish I had taken the before and after pictures to see it, but I did jot it down,
That's
because I noticed it. And it's not like it's totally disappeared, but I can see a difference in just a few days. So
that's
I'm
huge.
like, wow, they talk about like in the fashion, like total body makeover.
Yeah,
But
transformation. Yeah.
I'm getting an internal total body makeover that I don't even know about. These are things I've been able to see, but I'm trusting for full recovery.
100%. I am agreeing with you, sister, because this is amazing technology. And there, those people that say, well, I don't get results. And I have seen a few, it's like that, like we talked about with the diet and the water and all that, but it also has something to do with your mindset. Because if you go into this, I'm going to put this thing on and it's going to make me new by tomorrow, and that's it. And you don't see new by tomorrow right away. And then you get frustrated and you say, well, it didn't work. It's like people who do diets who think I'm going to go on a diet. I'm not going to eat anything. I'm going to starve myself on this crazy diet for 3 weeks or whatever it is. And then, or 3 days or whatever they say, take this pill and you'll be a supermodel by Friday. And you're not a supermodel by Friday. And you're like, well, that didn't work. It doesn't work. No, it works. If you work it, it will work. But what really works long-term is the slow and steady process of change and transformation. And so don't give up if you're like, I'm just trying these patches for the first time. And like I said, I'm not experiencing exactly what Sandra is. That's okay. I didn't have such a massive, experience either, but I did in my own way with my back healing as fast as it did. And again, like I said, I'll share that with you guys. But my husband, he's like what you said, the bride of Frankenstein, because he had some neck surgeries.
Oh,
And when he was a kid, he had a neck surgery and a lot of things in his body all over the place. And so he couldn't fully turn his neck. So he learned to turn his upper body, and he could turn his neck a little bit. And he kind of walked crooked because half of his right side is smaller than his left side because it didn't develop the right way. There was a lot of things. Anyways, long story. He experienced a lot from the age of 9, 10, 11, and they told him he'd never walk again and all this. He'd never use his right side of his body, and he does. But he always had kind of a limp. And after 24 hours, one day of wearing this patch. So you only wear them for 12 hours. You put it on for 12 hours, you take it off at night. So basically like with the sun. Okay. So you get up, you brush your teeth, you pop one of these on the back of your neck or right under 2 inches under your belly button, or really wherever you want to wear them. But those were where the clinical studies were done. And you just wear it until you get ready for bed, and take it off, throw it away, and put on a new one the next day. So he did that. So basically in 24 hours, but he only wore the patch for about 12 to 16 hours. He had a pinch in his back that was consistent every single day. And he would be really like, he'd have to stretch himself a lot and do stuff in the morning to get going. Now he's only 2 years older than me. So he's started, I think, feeling this really bad pinch. He said, as long as he can remember, but the stiffness as he aged was getting worse and worse. And he, in 24 hours, the very next morning when he woke up, he said, no pinch for the first time. And he couldn't remember how long. He has no idea why he had the pinch. I can't imagine why his back looks like all over the place. So I'm like, I don't know how he's never even in any pain. He's strong. That's why he's got really strong muscles along his spine and both sides. And he said no pinch, and he hasn't had it since. Now, this has been since August. Now, when we're recording, this is in February. So it's been about 6 months that he's been on the patch. But within 24 hours, that pinch in his back was gone. Now, since then, he's experienced amazing things like his hair. He's bald on the top, but his hair started to grow, which is a big deal for him because he has one kidney. And so usually baldness has to do with our kidney issue for men. His one kidney because of all the stuff, like I said, when he was a kid on his right side. And the neighbors across the street from us, they're the sweetest people. They just said, "Hey, we're noticing." I guess they watch. They keep an eye on our house and stuff, and they keep an eye on us, and we're friends. And they're just an elderly couple that just hangs out at home. So they had came over about a month ago and said, we want to get on that patch, because I had told them about it before Christmas time, and they were like, "Yeah, sure, send us some information." And I did. I did this same thing I do for everybody. Go to thisisitinfo.com. Thisisitinfo.com. And I'll put that link in the description also. Okay. They went to that website. I didn't hear anything back from them. A month later, they were like, "Hey, we were watching your husband walk and noticed he was walking straighter." And I'm thinking, what? I didn't notice that because I'm with him every single day. And they said the limp that he had just a little limp, just a little shorter on one side than the other, but I never paid much attention to it. But they said they noticed him walking straighter, and there must be something to this. So my neighbor has had some heart issues. And so he decided, definitely both of them are on it now. They're in their mid 70, something like that. And they're just mover and shaker type people anyway. So they really needed the support to continue their active, lifestyles. And they've experienced great things too, but just different than yours. And they've been on the patches right around the same amount of time as you have. And they're like, "Yeah, I mean, we just feel like we're sleeping better." Hey, that's great. That's awesome. So it's going to be different.
That one too. That one too. I mean, that's an important one because I would get up many times at night, whether it was reflux or pain that wakes you up sometimes.
Yeah.
And my husband's also noticed too. He says, "Boy, you're really sleeping more and deeper." And I'm like, "I am." So it's like, oh, okay. Now that I'm waking up, I mean, I sleep in later because I'm retired now, but I know when I wake up, I'm not waking up. Sometimes I will wake up with a headache or in pain or stuff like that. I may have a little stiffness or, maybe a little bit of congestion because sometimes the heat is on too high, because it's winter here.
Yeah.
But upon arising, it's like I'm able to move and it's just better.
Yeah.
It's just improved, and it's subtle. So like I didn't bring that up as a top couple of things that I mentioned to you, but also the sleep is such an important part of healing and recovery. So sometimes we don't lead normal lives and we don't take into consideration that we need to give ourselves that quality sleep.
Absolutely. I love that you're saying that. So just to recap, I made some notes here when you were sharing with me the other day that led me to say, "Can you share this?" Because there's going to be other people that need to hear your story. And that's how we were saying before I even hit record today that, we will overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And this is part of our testimony of healing and what God is using, because God isn't in a box. So God can do what he wants to do. So we can't just say, "Well, God only heals this way." No, God can do whatever he wants. He's God. We can't determine what box he fits in. So this is amazing. But I wrote down this when you were sharing with me the other day: diminished pain in your neck and lower back. That's huge. So ankles swelling down to where you're seeing loose skin even on your ankles. Inflammation has decreased. Your shirts are fitting looser because of that, not because you're dieting. Rosacea and the cysts on your face are gone. Breakouts done, you said. My skin is healing, and that's awesome. You were able to work out for 70 minutes and even 2 hours. You shared a little bit of that. Bending over to clean your underneath your cabinet where you couldn't before. Yes, it's huge. Varicose veins lightening, your knees feel better. They don't feel like wooden hockey pucks, we said, and so that was a lot of things that you shared with me. And that was in only 8 days. Now you also, before, I want to make sure I'm clear about this before I forget, you are not just using the X39 during that time, though. You're also pairing it with Eon.
Right.
Okay, so Eon, I want to just touch on this really quickly. I won't spend a lot of time here, but if you're interested, if you're watching this and you're like, how does this happen? I'm going to put a form. There's a little, a link in the description below. It's a little form that you can fill out. And this is what Sandra did. She filled out this form and she said, "Can you contact me?" And she said it earlier. I trusted her. I wasn't so sure though she would reach out to me. I don't know, because you get on YouTube and you think, "Oh, that I really connect with this person." You say something and you never hear anything back. I am serious about communicating with people who communicate with me, even in a comment. So if you leave a comment on my videos or wherever on social media, I'm always like, I'm going to respond because you're important. And so if you want to fill out that form, I will respond to you and we can talk about, the information more and what Eon actually is. But basically, in a nutshell, Eon, when you couple it with X39, it just increases the speed of which your pain is reduced, or you're feeling the pain reducing in your body. Inflammation decreases faster when you couple X39 with Eon. And there's a lot of other science to this, so I can share more about that with you. I'll put some links in the description below, like I said, for you guys to go find some more about that out. But Eon has been helpful. It's actually helpful for balancing your parasympathetic and sympathetic systems. So it really helps with mental health, like we talked about earlier, as well as the X39 does too. So I love that you shared all that, because you are experiencing so many amazing things and you experienced it because of coupling those two things together. I really do believe that. That's why you've experienced it faster than like my neighbors, for instance, who are only on the X39 right now. But I was only on the X39 also and experienced 3 days. My back pain was gone. And you can watch the testimony from that in the description. So I'm going to be sharing some more stories here, you guys. Okay. If you're coming and you're like, I want to find out more. Is this stuff safe for me? What is the science? What is all of that? Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you come back to the channel. Make sure that you reach out to me and I will personally get you all the information you could possibly need. But you can go to thisisitinfo.com. There's doctors that are talking about it, studies, all of the patent information, the pub.med that you were talking about earlier, that's on there where you can go find out about this, copper peptide. And then also, you can track, your mood swings, your age spots, your scars, your pain, your inflammation. You can track all that kind of stuff and see how you're doing. They do offer a 30-day money back guarantee. So if you want to find out more about those, they call them free trials basically, because you can buy for 30 days. And if you don't feel like you really love them or whatever, they'll refund you with no questions asked. So LifeWave is an amazing company, has been around for, like I said, 20 years. They're amazing. So yeah, Sandra, thank you so much for sharing, because it is so encouraging for me. I hear a lot of these things, but not everybody's willing to get on the camera. So you're so brave. And I'm so thankful that you did that, because this is really changing so many people's lives. Is there anything else you want to share before we end today with anybody that might be watching?
I think I mentioned it at the onset that I had been in prayer. And so I'm just thankful that it was you, because I know you're busy and I know you're doing things and you have a family and all that. But when I first started with all of this, I didn't know inside out from anything. And you just took your time and you just helped me through all of it. And to this, even now and even more as I go along, I know that you just make yourself available and you really care. So that also makes a difference in the entire kind of like healing continuum. And I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful that God connected me up with you.
Me too. I am too. I really thank you for saying that. I didn't pay her to say that, y'all. Okay.
Oh, remember, I'm a jaded New Yorker.
Yeah. You would never know it. Okay. You would never know that. That's awesome. I really love that. Thank you so much. And that's funny you say that, because this past Sunday we were singing in worship and there was a song and it went over and over again. I am available. I am available. And I have made that my mission to God, to be available to just whatever he needs me to be available to, for whoever he sends my way. Really, that it's yes, Lord. That's it. Nothing else. Yes. And then he takes care of the details and all the other things. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing and for being
Yeah, I'm
kind to me.
grateful to have a new sister like you. I mean, it's like, I mean, how does this even happen? It's
Yes.
because as a jaded New Yorker, again, you don't just like let anybody in.
Yeah.
Even if you're believers, there's all kinds of crazy out there.
I
So
know 100%. So I get that. I get that. That's why I wanted to share and preface this at the beginning, that you found me through YouTube, because there's people all over the internet and you're like, I don't know them from anybody. How can I trust them? And even the medical advice and the nutritional advice. And for me, even being a transformational wellness coach, I get on here and blabber stuff all the time about things. And I'm sure many people can watch me and go, well, but who is she? What does she know? Or what does he know? I don't know them. So I'm thankful that you trusted the inner voice, right? Like the Holy Spirit that says yes or no, stay or go when you come across people on the internet, because you don't know if they're if they're crazy or if
But
they're.
I do believe in divine
I
appointments,
do too. Yeah.
and because I prayed, and because, I'm also like, I've got the internal alarm of like being a New Yorker and having worked in criminal court 30 years. It's kind of like an internal system of like, oh, no, get away, open, close, speak, don't speak, all that.
Mm.
So I know that you're true blue, and you have helped me. I have been praying, and I just trust that God is just going to keep opening it up and blessing and healing.
100%.
And I just thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for
Yeah.
doing what you do.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And again, to everybody, we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to just make sure that you remember there's links down below. There's a form you can contact me about X39, about any of the other patches that LifeWave offers. But X39 is definitely the one that, and Eon, that are the two that I would really love for you if you're struggling with some body challenges, to reach out and let's talk about those things. And make sure that you remember they're non-transdermal. They don't affect you in any negative way. And they're just incredible, to regenerate, the regenerative health, age reversal. It's amazing. And you can go to thisisit.info.com to find out more, and then contact me below about how you can get yours. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you here on the next one.